Okay.
1984. In a couple years,
1984.
1984. In 2 years, I will be 40 years on the mat.
Wow, that's a very long time. So uh, everyone knows when it comes to wrestling, grappling, fighting in general, the Soviet bloc or Russia, they all have a very strong reputation, even till this day when it comes to the IJF World Tour, the Olympics, the Russians, they're always present. So from there, like the type of training, was it just mental, physically strong or physically demanding, or was it mentally and physically demanding?
Gotcha. So major, I will answer. A little precursor. Back in I don't know about now, because I have not been. I mean, I try to go to Russia yearly, but and when I started to go, like I would train. But now, man, I just want to go see my parents. I train every day. The charm of training in Russia kind of like outstated. It's welcome, so to speak. What was the question?
Uh, the training in Russia,
The training. Thank you. I'm so sorry.
how is it like? Like the environment, is it some with
So
like? There's a lot of cruelty in some countries. There's a lot of stuff that
understand.
should not be
No,
done.
my trainer for like what we did have a couple of coaches who would yell and like fucking sorry like beat students or smack them. My coach never did anything of the sort. However, back in the day, the attitude towards sports in Soviet Union was very professional because winning on sportive arena was akin to winning like little political battles. So you
Mm,
protect like in the motherland, you represent communism, etc., etc. So the attitude towards sports from the very get-go was very professional, right? Like in America, kids start playing soccer and they change like say, 17 sports, and right away you buy cleats. When I started Sambo in Soviet Union, there was like a school uniform for everybody. So I did not have Sambo uniform. I had to cut the buttons out and wear a school jacket instead of kurtka, instead of gi. I had a scarf instead of a belt and wool socks
shoes.
instead of Sambo shoes, right? And it took a while for my parents to finally buy me stuff once they realized I'm serious. And I felt like such a professional, man. Once I got my first gear, man, I felt so great. So a coach's salary depends on his peers, on his students' performance. So
Mm,
the more his students win, and the more the level of the tournament, the more a coach gets paid. And there is gradation. There is a ranking system, not only for athletes but for coaches. And the salary goes proportional with it. And because training was for free, like if you messed around, coach can kick you out or don't pay you any mind. So only the strongest, like only the strongest, so to speak, survived.
mm,
And from the very beginning, our training was geared for performance, to win tournaments. Like from the get go, man. Like I think I competed 3 months after I started, and then it became like nonstop. And it's very much like Baksugan and Judo. There is no belt system in Sambo, right? So the only way to get ranked is to compete, and not only compete and win, and not only compete and win, but win certain tournaments. Like once you got like a ninth Q, you beat a bunch of people with ninth Q, you go to eighth Q, and so forth and so on. And the tournaments, promotional tournaments, we call открытый ковер, which means open mat. Because over
mm.
here, open mat is just like a freestyle practice or whatever, non-structured practice. But back home, open mat was a promotional tournament. You go there with your book, you get way in, you wrestle a few matches. If you win, you get it, your wins recorded. And if you, after acquiring certain number of wins, you move on to next degree. We call it разряд, not a Q.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm,
So as opposed to like in the states when people try to escape ADD or bullying or whatever, back home, back in the day, the only reason you train was not for discipline or self defense, was to perform for motherland.
ah,
And of course, training was demanding both mentally and physically. Out of 7 days a week, we trained 6 days. Sunday was our only day off, and which never was day off for me. I still did stuff. And out of 6 days in Sambo 70, so you'll go to study, like you learn your academia, your physics, your chemistry, your algebra, whatever, and then you go to train. And some days would have two classes, two practices, 2 hours each, morning and night. And some of them were only one practice, either morning or night. But you trained every day.
mm.
So and that's the
Yeah.
great pedigree between like methods, like proven methods, between being coached by like Olympic champions and world champions. That's how becomes a blacksmithery factory of champions. And I got lucky. that I was in that gym. It was very developed. It had like tons of masters of sports, champions, Olympic champions. So I just got lucky, man. I just got lucky to end up in a atmosphere I ended up. You know.
Me personally, I'm not this like competitor. I started late, but there is this thing when it comes to ranking. I do feel that meritocracy should play a big role. Like I competed recently in Osaka for my black belt, and as you said, you have to win, and you win against the first guy. The next guy comes in immediately. There's no rest, so it's a cardio, mental battle, technical battle, and in some ways, I really appreciate that because it shows that after all, it's a martial art. Okay, not everyone wants to be a world champion, but in terms of ranking, it's nice to feel that you actually deserved it. You went and fought for it. A lot of the times, people are just there because they're there. They're not doing any technical progression. And then, one day they're a professor. They're like, okay, here's your belt or anything. And sometimes you would see this black belt who looks like he doesn't even train. And when you're fighting them, is he really fighting me? But then you see this brown belt who's like 17 years old and he's just mopping the floor with you. So I do appreciate this type of meritocracy, which is still today in Japan. There's no weight category. You want your rank, you have to earn it. And of course, there is the other side because judo, after all, is education. There is the kata. There is, sometimes they write thesis. You have to wait. Sometimes you are honored because maybe you're always showing up. You're doing good on the mats. Not everyone is going out and competing. Sometimes we have health issues. Maybe again, it's a gray world, but. In terms of this type of meritocracy, I really appreciate it. For example, in France, there's a bunch of exams. There's a waiting period, and then from there, you have to do these little kata and seminars, attending things that does not necessarily make you a better fighter, and also intellectually a better martial artist. And for me, I have a huge problem with that because I do feel sometimes it's a waste of time for a lot of us. So. I really appreciated that part. So you were talking about this. That was like the 80s.
Yes, I started in '84. But you see,
Yes.
I'm like, to me, that system worked out. But like, then there is a dilemma. Do you want to have a sport with few participants that are killers, or do you want to have a popular sport with recreationalists? And I don't have an answer, man. Some people don't want to compete. Some people cannot compete. Yet there should be some kind of cornerstone and criteria by which you can judge your progress. I think TIAS, that's the governing body for Sambo, try to implement a belt system, and I think it did take in some countries in Europe. So, like, I don't know, man. They're trying to make sport more popular for more participants by doing the belt rank, but I don't know how it's going, to be honest with you.
But I think putting age categories really helps with this problem because,
of course,
maybe some guy started at 25. He's not going to compete with the 20-year-old who's been doing Sambo since he was 4, and he has a 250 squats. So maybe or maybe like a year range of competition. For example, if you've been competing for 1 to 3 years, let's put you in this bracket, age range, etc. I think these can help. It separates naturally the recreationists and as you said, the killers.
Yes, that's what Ivan, or actually Ivan Vasilchuk, tried to do with Sambo partner. It's like Judo Newaza. He did 2 categories: one for pros, people that competed internationally, and one for recreation. I don't know how he called it, but basically recreationalists.